launch plume behind us, and wow, that we definitely, I can't speak for you, Dan, but that was very moving for me.
Yeah, and right now you can see some of the telemetry of the ship engines has gone out. I'm waiting for an update on what they cut on. Obviously, we've got booster back, booster on the launch tower in the chopstick arms, but we are waiting to get an update now on the ship. Start to go out prior to that point. And so right now we are just standing by to try and get the latest word on where we are with ships. So stick with us for just a couple of minutes as we wait to hear some updates.
Now, if you just recently joined us, you might want to hit rewind and go back about 9-10 minutes ago to when Starship lifted off from the launch tower that you see there. We had a gorgeous ascent followed by a stage separation where the ship separated from the Super Heavy booster coast on the screen. Obviously a successful catch back at the launch tower, which is something that we were all hoping to see and really couldn't ask for a more beautiful background with those blue skies and blue water there. As Dan said, we are standing by for an update on the ship that had ignited its engines and started making its way up space. So standing by for more info on that. But wow, what an experience to see that take off and for that booster to come back. You can see it there up close on your screen to the place that it launched from. Once again, there were thousands of catch commit criteria, which is basically just evaluate and make sure that everything is clear and acceptable conditions both on the vehicle side as well as the tower side in order to enable that catch. Obviously from the divert into the ocean on Flight 5, we did have the first ever successful catch of the booster. We used the warnings of success, which
Currently not with the ship, so trying to figure out exactly when that happens. Going to their data, looking to make sure it's not anything instrumentation. Try and get us established.
Started at the top of the hour, 11 minutes. So thanks for joining me, and just kind of stick around if you can. Right now we're looking at a live view of Texas, where SpaceX just launched their their Starship rocket. And they caught the booster, as you can see right there in the picture, so kind of exciting. I'm going to be doing a presentation on how NASA explores the solar system, starting at the top of the hour in 10 minutes. So I hope that you can stick around and join me. Don't forget to subscribe and click that like button to promote the channel and the work that I do for NASA. I'm a NASA ambassador. So stick around, and we're going to get started shortly. Hear about some of the exciting projects and things that NASA's working on. Thanks for joining me.
Where are you going?
Just Key West.
So if you are just tuning in, we caught a booster, but we are still waiting to find out a little bit more on the ship. So it is successfully separated. We did that hot staging maneuver. We did see all 6 of ship's engines on the way uphill during its ascent. But as we were getting to the end of that ascent,
we're continuing to listen in and find out more information to share as we can. But as we said before, and you can see it there on your screen.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. We've got about 8 minutes before we get started. I'm an ambassador for NASA, and I'm doing a presentation at a local library in Orlando. The live broadcast of the launch from Texas. So they just launched a Super Heavy rocket 15 minutes ago. They caught the booster. You can see it up on the screen. And we'll get started here shortly.
We are getting a little bit more, so we did lose all communications with the ship. So I mean, that is essentially telling us that we had with that upper stage. So we're just coming up to the ship when we stopped until, or when we started to lose a couple of the engines. We saw those dropping out, and then we did lose telemetry from the ship. So we didn't have contact with it. So at this point, we are assuming that the ship has been lost. This was a brand new vehicle, essentially. This is kind of an upgrade version. So with that, there's a lot of things you're upgrading on. There's a lot of things you're going to learn as all of the systems interact with each other for the first time. But at this point, we did lose the upper stage of the ship. So again, we're going to listen in and try to figure out a little bit more about what happened. Obviously, we'll kind of a full breakdown once we get smarter ourselves in the coming hours and days as well.
For sure. Now, for those that have recently tuned in, we're now a little over T plus 16 and a half minutes after liftoff. We do believe that we have lost the ship during its ascent phase. It's successfully separated from the Super Heavy booster, but but this was a new version of the ship of Star Trek, and it was intentionally designed and flown in order to basically...
Hello, for those who are joining me, I'm a NASA ambassador. I'm at a local library in Orlando, and I'm going to be doing a presentation starting at the top of the hour in 5 minutes talking about how NASA explores the universe. So I hope that you can stay with me. Now you can see on the screen in back of me that SpaceX, just in the last 17 minutes, launched their Starship, and they were able to catch the booster. You can see that on the screen. If you could, please like this broadcast, and it helps to promote the channel for other people that may be interested. Don't forget to subscribe while you're here, and please stick with me, because in just about 4 minutes, we're going to get started. And thank you so much.
It's been closed since they don't give it. And then we won't get a heater until the middle of February.
50% of what they have in there at the moment. But you need a full well.
I'm surprised she's not running Massachusetts.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm an ambassador for NASA, and I'm at the Celebration Library near Orlando, Florida. I appreciate you joining me. I'll be doing a presentation starting in 3 minutes entitled On. If you could do me a big favor and click that like button and consider subscribing to the channel to support it. And if you're interested in NASA and what's happening, stick around. In about 2.5 minutes, we're going to go ahead and get started.
First we got what? To get that up. It's fine, it's nice. We've done it once when the kids were little, so long ago.
I got some of those.
Be like, well, we'll go and we'll let you do your thing.
I'll go and see a rocket launch at the same time. Just to go see a rocket launch.
Okay, folks, 2 more minutes.
Now I want to.
Get started on a presentation about NASA. So thanks for joining me. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do so. And subscribing to the channel.
Michael Catherine on one of those, sometimes just for the women's
I'm ready.
Okay, hello everyone, welcome. I'm Taylor. I work at the library. I just want to make an announcement that thank you so much for coming. Also next Thursday at 2 p.m. if anyone's interested in gardening, we have someone coming to teach about gardening. So thank you for supporting the library, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to the very interesting presentation we got here. Thank you so much.
Taylor. Hey, good evening, everyone. How are you? All right, great. Welcome. My name is Mark Gillette, and I'm an ambassador for NASA. I'm going to be periodically looking over here because I'm live streaming this event on my YouTube channel. So if you're wondering why I'm not looking at you and I'm looking up, that's why I'm doing it. I'm not obsessed with my phone as so many people are. But I would like to welcome everyone that is attending via YouTube. As I mentioned, my name is Mark Gillette. I'm a NASA ambassador. I'm very excited to be here for the next hour or so and talk to you about some of the exciting things occurring at NASA. Today's been quite a fascinating day regarding space exploration. We started the day very early this morning with Blue Origin, the company started by Jeff Bezos. They launched their brand new rocket, the New Glenn. All right, so that was a big milestone. A little bit later in the morning, NASA did a spacewalk, doing some repairs and upgrades to the International Space Station. I'll be talking a little bit about that a little bit later. I like your shirt, sir, NASA.
Yeah. This is the STS-7.
All right, good.
Challenger.
Challenger, okay. And then, if you came in a little while ago, we were watching a live broadcast of SpaceX, Elon Musk, launching the Starship rocket. That's the largest, most powerful rocket ever designed and built and launched before. And they were able to catch the booster with the chopsticks. If you were here, you saw that. Unfortunately, they just reported that they lost communication with the upper stage. So things probably didn't go well. That's pretty incredible for just one single day. It's a very exciting time to be alive and watching all of these cool things develop when it comes to space, rockets, and space exploration. So welcome. I think you're excited to hear about some of the things I'm going to talk about. I'm excited to talk about them. So let's go ahead and get started. Here's what I have planned for. It's quite a rigorous agenda, but I'm going to kind of move through them. If you do have any questions at any point, please feel free to get involved. I do want to talk about the International Space Station, the ISS. Talk about the Artemis program, our return to the moon, the follow-up to Apollo. Talk about the Perseverance Mars rover with the Ingenuity helicopter, the James Webb Space Telescope, the replacement of Hubble. There was a double asteroid redirection test where we bumped an asteroid to see if we can move it to a different course. It worked. The OSIRIS-REx and Bennu sample, the asteroid sample collection. Psyche, the Europa Clipper. Talk about some things you can do when you go home tonight, looking at NASA eyes and getting involved as a citizen scientist. And again, at the end, how does NASA explore them and beyond? Got lots of tools at our disposal. And probably one of the best well-known ones is what's called the International Space Station. It's called international because we aren't the only ones involved. There are many countries from around the world that were involved in building it and currently running it. All right. There's a picture on the left-hand side. The International Space Station is roughly about the size of a U.S. football stadium. Okay. Has those panels, those solar panels that provides electricity. There's roughly between 6 to 10 astronauts at a time on board. They normally spend roughly about 6 months aboard the ISS ISS doing research. They can spend a longer period of time or a period of time. It's generally 6 months. All of this started back in the year 2000 when the ISS first became inhabited. So it's 25 years now, all right? Every mission, NASA loves patches, and so there's a patch for every mission, and this happens to be the patch for the current ISS crew. You may have heard of a couple people that were launched to the International Space Station back in June. They were only going to stay for a few days, like 8 days, and they are still there. Butch and Sunny. They're coming back. They're scheduled to come back in March, late March. But they did get an extended stay because the crew capsule that they used, there were a lot of concerns about getting them back safely. So they kind of left them there and took that crew capsule. It was called the Boeing Starliner, and they brought it back to Earth empty. Everything went well, but NASA didn't want to take a chance based on some concerns that they have. So there are quite a number of astronauts currently on the ISS. It's going over 17,000 miles an hour, roughly about 250 miles above us. Okay, so they're moving along. It orbits the Earth about every 90 minutes. Okay. If you are interested in seeing the ISS, you can go to a website, spot the station, NASA.gov. Put it. It's not going to look like that. It's going to be a little white dot that goes across the side. And the little white dot may not be that impressive, but when you think about what kind of changes everything. So lots of science experiments are done on the ISS. The ISS is coming to the end of its life in just a few years. NASA's still debating exactly what they're going to do with it, but it is coming to the end of its life.
Usually the stations come down and burn, right?
Sometimes they decide to bring it back into the Earth's atmosphere and it's going to burn up. But they have been talking to SpaceX about possibly deorbiting it with one of their rockets. So it may be a little different than what we would normally expect them to do. I remember you from last time, right? Yes.
So, why were there many pushbacks for the Artemis 2 launch?
Okay, why is it delayed? Okay, I'm gonna come to that. And if I forget, tell me. Now, my little show thing here, my little live thing crashed. So somebody else had their hand up?
So I know that an astronaut is in space for a length of time. It's a great strain on your system. Is there a difference in strain from the space station to like the moon? Is it dramatically different? How much of a strain is it for them to be like these astronauts who are there much longer than they anticipated? Is it dangerous for them, or is it not as much as if they were in a situation like
They train very rigorously, physically, mentally, to be able to stay for long durations of time. There was an astronaut that went through extensive training, a few of them, to see how their eyes change, their muscles change. There is some problems that occur over long periods of time. The question I think you were asking, is there a difference between just being a few hundred miles above the Earth versus going to the moon? I don't know of any. I think the biggest issue is duration in space. So the longer you're there, the more likely there are going to be problems. Okay, so let's go on and talk then about the Artemis program. You all are familiar with Apollo back in the 60s and 70s, where we went to the moon 6 times, 12 men on the moon. Well, we're going back, all right? And the first question I normally get is, why the heck are we going back to the moon? We've been there, we've done that, let's do something else. The ultimate goal is to go to Mars. And this kind of comes back talking about, ma'am, and that is, to go to the moon, it only takes like 2.5, 3 days to get there. And if we stay a couple of days and then 2.5 days to get back, we're gone for 7 days, 9 days. In order to go to Mars, we're looking at roughly our relationship, the Earth's relationship to Mars, we're talking up there. Okay, and when you get there, you're probably not going to spend a couple hours, get back roughly. So you're looking at least 2 years in weightless conditions and all the other conditions that people would face in space. See how things go. So it's kind of like a new training ground. We can learn new things by actually living for long durations of period on another body and take that knowledge with us to Mars. Because once we go to Mars, once we're on our way, it's too late to start figuring out what are we going to do when we get there. We have to know what we're going to do when we get there. So we now have what's called the Artemis program. The Artemis is, of course, in Greek mythology, the twin sister of Apollo. That's where the name came from. On the right-hand side of your screen, you see the rocket, which looks different than the Saturn V rocket that was used to go to the moon. What you probably notice are these two boosters on the side. This basically looks like a pretty normal rocket. It's orange, but, you know, other than that, it looks like Apollo 5, basically.
Or the space shuttle.
Or the space shuttle, yes, yes. All right, so what we are looking at here, this is the main fuel tank. There are actually 2 fuel tanks in there. There's a liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, all right? And then on the sides, we have the boosters, and the boosters really come from the space shuttle program. Same thing, but they're bigger, larger, more powerful, all right? It's interesting because when this thing is launched, these 2 things, these 2 white solid rocket boosters, they do about 70% of the work. 70% of the work. So roughly after about separate, fall back has ever built. So it's more powerful than Saturn, the Saturn V, right? Okay, so that's the Artemis program. Why is it being delayed? Space is hard. Space is difficult. This is not just something that you throw together and you put a light, match and away it goes. They find problems after problems after problems, and it gets delayed and delayed. So in fact, the first launch for the Artemis 1 program was from Kennedy Space Center right down the road. For no earlier than April of 2026. It will have 4 astronauts on board. They will space. So we're
there was like a movie in it.
Yep.
Space Center Houston about the last man
Yep.
on the moon.
Yep. Can't remember his first name. Somebody help me.
Wait, what's his last name?
It's Siren?
Eugene?
Eugene?
Siren.
Yeah, that's it. You want to come up here and do this?
I'm a space guy.
No, I'm the space here guy.
You're guy, I'm boy.
All right, so we had a question about the little helicopters. So back in July of 2020, NASA launched the Perseverance rover. This is an illustration. So this is an opportunity to explore the solar system. All right. It landed in February of 2021, so now it's been about 3 years. It's been roaming around. What's the main purpose? Looking for signs of life. No, they're not looking for the green people with the little umbrella or the little antennas. They're looking for some type of microbial life. probably not even alive, something that was alive a long time ago. But if they find evidence that something was alive, you know, a million years ago, bingo. That changes everything, does it not?
Yeah, they could find a fossil or water.
Can you imagine reading the headlines? Life discovered on Mars? I mean, that changes everything. I can't imagine bigger news. They decided to bring along a little tiny helicopter. It's about the size of a small microwave oven. They weren't sure that it would fly because Mars has a very, very thin atmosphere. And as a pilot, I know that you have to have atmosphere for your wings to kind of grab onto. And if there is no atmosphere, there's nothing for wings to grab onto, and so you're not going very far. So they designed it in a way where the rotors would turn really, really fast, and they're designed in a particular way, and it worked. So here's, I don't know if you've seen this. This is the actual video that was taken from the Perseverance rover. Looking at it, it's right here. And come on. Why aren't you getting bigger? Well, okay. Well, there it goes. On the first flight, it only goes up a few feet. It only stays up a few seconds. It's going to go back down. Success. They were blown away. It exceeded their expectations. So they went on to have over 70 flights. They went higher, they went faster, and they went further. It worked. Again, this is the actual footage. This isn't some AI designing what it might look like. This is the actual footage of the helicopter flying on Mars.
The video, so the Perseverance took the video, send it to NASA, and then NASA made the.
There were some problems with it, so the shuttle and the astronauts went out and caught it and brought it in, fixed it all up, and sent it back out. All right. We don't have the shuttle anymore, so that's not an option. Anyhow, that technology is already way outdated. So way back in the 90s, NASA said we need to come up with the next great telescope, James Webb Space. The NASA administrators. Well, Hubble is about the size of a small school bus. Webb is about the size of a tennis court, at least the sun shield that you see down here. Hubble was easily put into the cargo bay of the space shuttle and launched into space. Couldn't do that with James Webb because it's so big. So what they had to do is they had to build it so it was foldable. And they folded it all up. They put it on the top of an Ariane 5 rocket. Again, an international collaboration with the Canadian Space Agency and the European Space Agency. The European Space Agency did provide the ride to space on the Ariane 5. They launched it out of South America back on Christmas Day, 3 years ago, 2021, 2, 3, 4, yes, all right. Launched on Christmas Day. It took roughly 30 minutes to get it to its home. Its home, unlike the Hubble Space Telescope, only about 350 miles above us, the home, the permanent home of James Webb, is roughly about 1 million miles away from planet Earth. Okay? So, the question might come to mind, why did we send it so far away? Okay? There's a reason.
To take pictures of things so that Hubble can see.
Okay? Another big issue is the Earth is off heat. You had to get, there's a very sweet, there's a nice gravitational sweet point among the sun, the moon, the Earth. And that was the perfect place to put it for gravity and get it away from the Earth heat, radiated heat. Okay? So it took 30 days to launch it from Earth to get it to where it was. They had to open it back up. There were many, many fail points, as they called them. Over 300. If one little latch didn't open properly, or didn't latch properly once it opened. The entire over 10, I think it's $10 billion? Done. Useless. Can't use the telescope. High reward. That's what NASA deals with a lot. High risk, high reward. It worked. It worked perfectly. 30 days after launch, it was at its permanent site, and then they started testing, and they took several months to test it, and then they started releasing images. This is the very first picture that was released. Deep field, okay? I want you to take a look at what you're looking at here. These things that you see here with the spikes, this one, this one, this one, that one, are stars within our Milky Way galaxy. Everything else that you're looking at in this picture from the Webb Space Telescope is a galaxy. And here we are sitting in the library.
Why are I got 3 questions.
Uh-huh.
Why are the galaxies moving around? They're like moving in a circle.
So it appears that they're moving in a circle. This gets into very technical astronomy stuff, which I'm not going to be able to answer a question as much as I would like to. Something to do with gravitational lensing, and that's all I can address there. It's beyond my knowledge.
And what are they gonna do when it doesn't work anymore?
Good question. What happens when it breaks? Bye. It's all done.
$10 million is wasted in like 30 years.
There's no way for us to go and repair it. They have ways of doing some pretty incredible things. If you're familiar with the Voyagers that were launched back in 1977 that are now in interstellar space, they've been going for a long time. It's incredible. And so they have recently lost communication with one of them, but they were able to do some really cool things and reconnect with it. So you've got some really smart people that work for NASA and for example, the Space Telescope Science Institute. That's who is responsible for running and operating the James Webb Space Telescope. So you got really smart people, and they're going to be able to pull some strings and make things happen. Eventually, it's going to come to the end of its life, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. It's going to be done.
So who paid for it and who owns it?
Who owns the James Webb?
Yeah.
Well, it's a combination of the US, NASA, Canadian Space Agency, and the European Space Agency. So funding came from all 3 space agencies, so it's kind of collaboration among all 3. I don't know the exact breakdown. My guess is NASA funded the majority of it. All right. That's another way that NASA explores the solar system and beyond, but that's pretty cool, isn't it? When you look at all, and they're galaxies. Every galaxy is made up of trillions of stars. Scientists now know that every star has at least one planet. We didn't even know exoplanets existed until about 1995. Now we know that every star has at least one, probably more, which means that there are more planets out in the universe than there are stars. But it's very difficult to find and look at those planets because they're not giving out any light like stars do. But we're coming out with better and better technology and techniques to find them out there. DART. I'm not sure if you heard about this very cool program, but one of our concerns as human beings living on this planet is, will one day an asteroid come wipe us out like one did for the dinosaurs a long time ago? That would not be a good day. That wouldn't be a good day. So NASA has taken upon itself to try to figure out what we could do if we knew for sure one was coming and it would do some major damage. So back in 2022, a little more than a couple years ago, NASA launched the DART mission, Double Asteroid Redirection Test. To make a long story short, they crashed into, this is an asteroid, this is a smaller asteroid that is orbiting the larger one, to see if crashing into it, they could move it off of its course. It worked. Relatively small spacecraft. Maybe we can save ourselves if the big one comes. It's going to take something bigger than metal rich attitude we've already talked about. All right, well, why do we want to go to a metal rich asteroid? Well, because the center of our Earth that we can't get to is rich. And so it is believed that and so we can go and kind of discover what the center of our Earth is like by going and visiting this asteroid. So launched on October 13, 2023, and I was fortunate enough to be invited by Kennedy Space Center and NASA to go out and actually witness the launch. Has anyone ever had the opportunity to go over to Kennedy Space Center and see a launch?
We saw that launch.
You saw that launch?
Yeah, we're from Arizona.
Okay.
So ASU was,
Okay, yep. So I've had the opportunity a few times now to go. And if you're into this stuff, I'm probably assuming you are, that you're here, absolutely incredible. You cannot miss it. Yes, we can walk. I do every 3 days. I walk out my door at home. SpaceX is launching right and left. But I can look over and I see the little dot going up and everything. But there's nothing like being there. It's just incredible.
I think I read somewhere where it said that
We are now 55 seconds to lift off.
that it has like $4 quadrillion and that if it gets captured and brought to Earth, I think they think it could give everything on the planet at least $2 billion.
Right. Don't hold your breath on that. But yes, yes. So I'm at the, if you're familiar with Kennedy Space Center, I'm at the Saturn V center where the rocket's at, looking across the river at the launch pad. And it was a cloudy day for this launch. So unfortunately, after only a few seconds of it being launched, it disappeared.
8, 7, 6, 5.
And the audio is a little off from the video, but that's a regular, just a normal Falcon. Was that a Falcon Heavy? That was a Falcon Heavy. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and comment and like. You hear that, everyone? So, really cool. Well, I had a chance back in June. I was invited by NASA Social to go out and watch the launch of the GOES weather satellite, another way that NASA explores the universe and the solar system and our own Earth is by working with Osceola, and they just launched a weather satellite. And so it was also on a Falcon Heavy rocket. It was a beautiful day. Oh my goodness. Just like a kid in a candy store. Something I highly recommend that you take the opportunity to do if you've never done it, to go out there and to actually watch a launch up close. All right. But this is going to be, again, not a lander, but an opportunity to fly around orbit and kind of do some exploring, because NASA would like to send a lander to Europa in the future, with some type of capability of actually drilling down through that ice. It's going to be difficult. It's really, really deep. And there are several different eyes, and I'm going to go to the one that's called, this is of course the big project, getting all of the rockets and landers and astronauts ready to go back to the moon and then on to Mars in the 2030s. So the ultimate goal with NASA right now is a mission, a human mission to the planet Mars.
I've heard about the
Both. Right now, there's a lot, this is like a second golden time of space exploration. There are a lot of businesses, private businesses that are getting on board and wanting to build like an orbiting hotel. You've got Blue Origin. For 8 minutes, you come up, go down. You know, I wish I had the kind of money to do that, but I don't. But NASA also is involved, so it's a nice partnership. People often ask the question, is NASA upset about SpaceX? And no, because they're doing different things. And it gets people excited about this stuff, and so it kind of moves us forward as a species. So it's all awesome. So there are a lot of private companies doing this stuff, and NASA will contract with private companies to build landers and rovers for the moon and so on and so forth. So it's a combination. It's an exciting time.
Hi, you mentioned Europa again, and how the belief is that the surface is ice.
Yes.
And incredibly deep.
Yes.
But we have taken samples from Mars, and we have taken samples from the moon. How far have we gone? How deep have we gone in search of a core sample?
Yeah, I'm not very sure. We've taken the surface of the moon. We collected some samples with the Perseverance rover that I showed you earlier, but we're still working on a plan to go back to get them. They're still there. Going to Europa, which is much further away, figuring out how to land, how to dig. So we need a lot of smart people working on this for a long time. It's going to take a lot. We've got about 4 minutes left. Don't leave because I do have a request for you. Let's go to her since we haven't had a question from her.
So what is NASA going to do after they go to Mars?
After Mars? I don't know that NASA has looked that far out. Of course, there's always this big grand idea of how do we get to another solar system? You know, the closest one, Proxima Centauri, if we could figure out how to go to speed of light, which is 186,000 miles in a second, it would take 3 years to get there, okay? But how are we going to go that fast? So I would think that in many years to come, after we go to Mars, that would probably be the next step, go to another solar system.
Are they planning to go outside space?
Outside of space, like interstellar space?
Yeah,
That would probably be, well, that would be the next step before we went to the next solar system, because you'd have to go there to get to, so it'd probably be part of the journey.
Outside space.
Oh, outside, just whatever is outside of whatever, yeah, no. Yeah, we can barely make it to the moon. Any other questions before?
We go to the moon 50 years ago, and it takes long to go back.
Yeah. Well,
Couldn't we just redo what
I
we
took
did?
I took off my official NASA badge, and I'm talking to you as a citizen.
Okay.
And here's my response as a citizen and not a NASA representative. Americans get bored very easily. And quite frankly, I don't know that we have a lot of actual curiosity. Some people do. I think you do because you're here. I do. But when you look at the vast majority of Americans, I often hear, we have a lot of problems here on Earth. Why aren't we spending this money to do that? It's true. We do have a lot of problems. I'm not supposed to talk about money. That's a big no-no. I'm talking to you now as a citizen. Do you know how much NASA gets? If you had a dollar bill, how much does NASA every year get out of that $1 bill?
It's like less than
A half a penny. A half a penny. Look at the things that they do. I think it's well worth the half penny. I'd like it to see a lot more than that. Americans apparently don't agree. The money's spent on other things. I won't even get into that. That's very controversial. I'd like to see some of that money go towards big things and constructive things, but Americans just don't really, they're not really into it. And it's so sad. And that's what I mean when I go to Kennedy Space Center and I see that 60% of the people that are visiting there are foreigners, and I look around and I see so few Americans got to come visit Kennedy Space Center, but you live in Alabama or New York, and you come to Florida and you can't go. Something's bizarre. One more question.
How do Americans express their up or down thinking? You know, we like space, we don't like space.
Yeah, same thing that I want, you have to vote. But young people in this country don't do a very good job of voting. They're the least harping on my, you gotta vote and vote for things that you feel are good. But it needs to go beyond that. You need to send an email to your congressperson. You pick up the phone and call the senator. That's what really makes a difference, because if they get enough people calling saying, we need to do this, something we need to do, then they eventually need to listen to us. They don't do a very good job of it, but theoretically, if they were listening to us, they do what we wanted them to do. So yes, and it takes a lot of work. Pick up the phone, send an email, and people, I'm not interested in that, I'm not gonna do that. But, yeah, imagine what we could do. Imagine what we could do, again, if we humans stopped the bickering and fighting, and we said, let's do big things. It would be mind-blowing what we could do.
But then we would fight all over again on who's gonna do it first.
Okay, one more question and then we're
Which was more popular? Space Center or Kennedy Space Center for their?
Oh, that's a good question. So that's a tough question too. I've been to Houston, and they have things there that they don't have at KSC and vice versa. If you go to Houston, you get to see the where they mission control. Once a rocket is launched and it's off the launch pad, control leaves Kennedy Space Center and goes over there. So you get to see them. So I can't answer your question. They're both awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do appreciate you so much for coming and spending part of your night with me. Before you leave, I do have a couple things. Number one, if you've not come over to the table in the room, the area in the back, please go through, pick up some things. Don't feel shy. I brought them for you. I don't need all of this stuff. Number two, NASA likes for me to get pictures with those that I do presentations with. If you would like to be in the picture, NASA is very, very touchy about pictures and who's in them. So what they request is that the participants, the people in the picture, actually fill out a release form. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a picture up here with as many of you who would like to be in it. I have a form for adults, I have a form for children, for if you're a parent and you want your child to be in it. That one, this one's for adults. If you're a couple, here, then just put both of your names on one form. I don't need, it says address, I don't need yours. Just put Kissimmee, Florida. I don't want your address. I'm not trying to spy on you. Yeah, I'm not doing anything. So if you would like to participate in the picture, please come get one of these forms, fill it out for me, and then we'll gather up here and we'll get the picture. And if you want, I can give you my email address and I can send it to you. Just let me know and I'll give you my email address. But if you don't want to participate, thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to get some goodies. And I'll see you next time if anyone wants me to come back in the future.
Yes.
Ready for the interruption periodically, but I hope this is ending the broadcast.